This is the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, the birthplace of professional football. Tomorrow morning on the front steps, Leeroy Selmon will be enshrined as one of the 200 greatest players to have ever played the game. During his career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Selmon was recognized as the franchise, the cornerstone, a perennial All-Pro. Such a storied career. In fact, a career that almost never happened.
Yeah, Lucius really did pave the way. He was the first one that went out for football in the Selmon family. And, you know, Paul Bell saw him in I think it was a PE class, and I think they were lifting weights that day. And
I said, Lucius, you're strong. And I said, you going to play football? And Lucius said, no, Coach, I'm not going to play football. I'll play basketball. Mom won't let me play football. And I said, well, you should play football. I said, you'd like it. He said, I don't know anything about it. And I said, that's why they hire me. I told Miss Selma about the work ethics and the morals we had, the things that, you know, they had to do to be a football player. And so she decided that might be a good idea.
We first started playing the game, and Lucius had said, why don't you go ahead and try football for once? And so we went over that afternoon and we worked out real hard. And except after practice was over, Leeroy and I both concluded this game's not for us, and we were really going to quit. Lucius talked to us saying, keep on playing, keep on trying, and so we did. But that was the initial beginning of it, and it was so confusing to us because even putting on the pads and putting on pads inside your pants was confusing to us, so it took us a while to adjust to football.
Soon, Dewey and Leeroy joined older brother Lucius on the same field under high school coach Paul Bell. The adjustments to football wasn't as easy for Leeroy. 11 months younger than Dewey, yet in the same grade, Leeroy had some lessons to learn.
I had this old saying to him. I'd say, Leeroy, look, don't be nice to those guys. They got helmets on. Don't worry about how they feel. Get out there and bite them in the jugular vein. So, and you know, this is not, it wasn't his nature.
Lucius graduated and moved on to play for the University of Oklahoma. The two younger brothers began to grow and develop into a sizable force on the field. At 13 and a chunky 170 pounds, Leeroy announced he was going on a diet.
The room next door to the kitchen area was Leeroy was laying in his listening, and Mom served the food. We were eating, and all of a sudden the curtains bust open. Leeroy, forget it, the diet's off, I'm eating. So he come in inside and fixed the biggest plate he ever fixed, and he ate with us.
Although highly recruited by several universities, Dewey and Leeroy chose to follow Lucius to Oklahoma, where the three brothers would again be reunited on the field. It was at Oklahoma, under head coach Barry Switzer, that Leeroy would go on to win the Outland and Lombardi trophies as the best defensive lineman in 1975.
Well, that was a great era of college football, and certainly for the University of Oklahoma. Kids were great back then. It was fun to coach kids in that era because they were so respectful. They did what you wanted them to do. Selmon brothers were unique, that not only they were All-Americans, great players, but Leeroy, without question, was the greatest player that I ever coached.
Leeroy was spectacular at Oklahoma. In his 4 years with the Sooners, the team only lost twice in the 43 games he played there.
There was no question that we were going to take Leeroy Selmon. We did have the first pick, so there was not a discussion. When they said, who do you take, we take Leeroy Selmon.
And so began the Leeroy Selmon era at Tampa Bay. But it was in stark contrast to the 43-2 college days.
life overall and in general says that when we go through difficulties, we tend to pull together more. So as we were going through that 0-26 stretch, I saw this team pulling together more. Everybody working hard, trying to overcome. Everybody encouraging the next fellow when their most disappointing moments came along. And I can guarantee every one of us had a very, very disappointing moment. But there was always someone there to have an encouraging word to say. And our fans and families all supported us. You know, we had some people that were still patting us on the back and encouraging us to go on.
With that support and the character of players like Selmon, the team survived the early days to find themselves one win away from the Super Bowl in just their 4th season. From a small child who cried in his mother's arms after his first football practice to a man with the weight of a franchise on his shoulders, Leeroy Selmon reached the pinnacle of his career in 1979. With his brother Dewey by his side, Leeroy had now established himself as the best defensive player in the NFL.
Against a run, he was darn near unblockable. I've never seen a guy who could stop a run like he could.
It goes without saying that the best move the Buccaneers ever made was when they drafted Leeroy Selmon. But perhaps the second best move was when they drafted his brother Dewey. When we return, we'll take a look at the extraordinary family bond that has brought Leeroy to this point in time. Well, Leeroy Selmon is finally enshrined here in Canton, Ohio. He'll take his place among the greats that have played this game for the past 75 years. But it took more than just his physical qualities to get here. It was the character and discipline that he was taught many years ago on a small farm in Eufaula, Oklahoma.
It's a great state to grow up in, spend a lot of years. That's where you get your base from. And, you know, the old adage that there's no place like home is true. I attribute a great deal to my parents for the way that they brought myself up, as well as my 5 brothers and 3 sisters. And the things I believe that they taught us long before football became a part of our lives were very important as we applied them into an athletic environment. You know, the discipline of working hard, a work ethic, the importance of going to school, and also the disciplines of how to behave. Back then, it was not an easy life, and I really, each day, am more and more prouder of my dad and mom for the way that they stuck in there with us. And I know they gave up a lot of the things that they probably desired to have in life, and committed all those types of things and desires to the children. To Elmer and Charles and Joyce and Chester were the older group, and they were about exiting out of the house by the time I was old enough to remember. But you know, what was valuable about that was my parents taught them the very same things that they were teaching us. The advantage that I had was not only was I hearing a message about these various disciplines and what was important to growing up and being the best you could be, but I had brothers and sisters that was out living that same message. You know, we were, you know, you were brothers and best friends, and you know, you cared about each other. We would, you know, we go out and wrestle and tumble and play, all those types of things. And you know, when we were supposed to be working, sometimes we'd be playing instead and get in trouble for doing that. And
early with Leeroy and stuff, we shared everything from early crayons and books and pencils in the grade schools, and till we got to high school, we shared even everything related to high school growing up, to going to town together, to going to different functions together.
I grew up with Leeroy. For 31 years, he was my celibate wife, and we would do everything together. In fact, on the night of his senior prom, it was I who took him there.
At no time in our careers did we feel alone or left out or we missed home, because we had home with us all the time. I think Leeroy was the biggest addition to my life. I can't hardly imagine my life without Leeroy Selmon in it.
This one goes right back to Eufaula out on the farm. That's where it started. That's where we know it came from. We're very, very happy. We had no idea of our wildest dreams that we'd be in this city, in this situation and everything. But we're very, very happy, and we're very thankful for it.
I just think about, you know, really where we came from. It just showed that if you do the right thing and work hard, you can accomplish anything.
So it was the example set by his parents and the lessons of farm life that were certainly an integral part of Leeroy's success as a player and as a person.
Well, David, as you recall, we strolled through that museum together, and you know, we're looking and reading about these just outstanding men who had just stellar careers, long-term careers, and I'm reading, you know, Super Bowls and championship victories and those types of things, and I'm looking around saying, no way, you know, could I belong in a fraternity like that? You know, I just never imagined that it could happen. Growing up until the day I retire, I never imagined that anything like this could happen. It truly have been more than a dream come true. It's been beyond my thoughts.
Although Leeroy has always tried to convince me that he would never make the Hall of Fame, whenever I would mention it, he would always say, oh no, that'll never happen to me. I always, in the back of my mind, knew that it was just a matter of time.
I definitely thought that Leeroy was definitely worthy of being in the Hall of Fame based on his football ability and his character that he had.
Leeroy earned his respect. He earned the Hall of Fame. He earned to have his spirit enshrined with those of Nischke, Ido. He earned that right. But he could have picked from 1,000 people to have someone come and introduce him. But he reached back and picked up the guy who took him to the prom. It's so much honor that I have to introduce to you my brother and companion, Leeroy Selmon.
Well, a person asked me a couple of weeks ago what I would say if I was going to introduce him. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, here's a football player and a man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. May God bless each and every one of you.
As always, humbled and gracious, Leeroy Selmon accepted football's highest honor. But the importance of such a prestigious honor will always remain secondary to the love he has for his family.
Besides being a football player, he's more of a father to me than, ever a football player. I wouldn't look at him like that. He's my father. So I, just proud of him to see him up as my father, him, not Leeroy Selmon. It's my father,
I feel very proud of him, and I feel very lucky to be the son.
From a farm boy who didn't know whether a football was inflated or stuffed to a man that now walks among the legends, how will this change Leeroy Selmon?
You go back and being the same old guy you always been. I'm not going to change. It's nice, to experience something like this and to share it. What I get most enjoy about this is the opportunity to share it with a whole lot of people. And once it's over and done, I'll go back to being myself.
So what's next for Leeroy Selmon? Well, after vacation in Oklahoma with his family, it's back to work at USF, where he continues in his efforts to bring football to the university. And what about all the speculation about Selmon becoming the school's first head coach? Well, I think after what we've seen tonight, it's pretty obvious what's important to Leeroy Selmon, and that's family. But then again, I've never known Leeroy to turn down a challenge. Have you? For Countdown to Kickoff, I'm David Logan.